everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of News for Normies. I am your host, Millennial Meditations, bringing you a week's worth of news in a relatively short time frame. So if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure you follow me on all the socials. I'll have those down below, especially on Rumble and now Spotify. And a pro tip with Rumble, even if you have a free account on Rumble, you can start the video, lock your phone, and put it in your pocket and keep listening to the audio. Unlike YouTube, you have to pay for that shit. So go follow me on Rumble and Spotify and fight the culture war with your dollars. Get off YouTube and other companies that hate you. So to start, this is very sad and tragic. An explosion happened yesterday as I record this at a munitions factory in Tennessee, leaving 19 people missing and unaccounted for as of this time. The company was called Accurate Energetic Systems, and it was located in Bucksnort, Tennessee, which is roughly 60 miles southwest of Nashville. As I said, at the time of this recording, people are still missing. So I hope and pray that they are all found alive. However, with the size of that explosion, it is highly unlikely that they were. So definitely thoughts and prayers for those families. So moving to some more national level news, Trump is considering invoking the Insurrection Act to deploy National Guard to Portland. This comes after the city sued the Trump administration over this, and a federal judge initially blocked Trump from sending National Guard to Portland. I think on top of the Insurrection Act, the federal government should revive the Communist Control Act to curb this festering cancer of communism that is disguised as liberalism. And just a quick little history lesson for you. The Communist Control Act was never voted out of law. It is still technically an act of law. It just has not been used in, 5 or 6 decades. So maybe it's time to dust that old bad boy off and break it out again. Now, I can already hear the people criticizing that. McCarthy was the one that was really the spearhead behind that just after World War II. And he used it to basically go after his political enemies, despite their political beliefs, or if they even had any at all. So this might need to be used very strategically, but should be used nonetheless. Speaking of just shithole cities, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson signed an executive order claiming, quote, "The city is an ICE-free zone."
And today we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
So if this works just like their gun-free zones, immigration and customs enforcement will be all over that city because gun control doesn't work at all. Also, this means that places like public schools and libraries will be rendezvous points for illegals. So thanks, Mayor Johnson, for allowing potential violent criminals and gang members cover within schools, right next to children. I'm sure that will end well and nobody will get hurt whatsoever because of violent gang members rushing into a school. I've also seen that local law enforcement in areas such as Portland and Chicago aren't helping federal law enforcement, which gives me concern, as attacks on ICE agents have increased over 1,000% this year. Yeah, definitely doesn't make me feel good there. And finally, Brandon Johnson is projecting left-wing beliefs again with this comment.
I said very candidly that the right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. I want that to sit in right now, because the President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America.
That's right.
He's more interested in giving billions of dollars to other nations, while farmers in urban cities around this country are literally being destabilized. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's through executive order, or whether it's through the brave women and men who are serving as rapid responders. We literally have people who are volunteering in this city, on the southwest side, the northwest side, all over this city, to make sure that we're protecting children from being separated from their families. And we're talking about volunteers who are literally putting themselves at risk of being shot and killed by the federal government. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's our continuous struggle for liberation through organizing, and whether it's through executive action, or whether it's through law, it would be nice if we actually had lawmakers in Washington that would actually hold this president accountable. And if they won't do it, then the city of Chicago will, using every single tool that's available to us.
Right now, things are so weird because at this moment, the left hates the federal government and the right largely likes it. But just 1 year ago, these were completely flip-flopped. And I think on the right, people still have a general paranoia about the federal government. So keep that up. But it's weird. It's such weird times. And also, whenever people on the left, like Mayor Johnson, say stuff like this, they are simply projecting their own beliefs onto you. So keep that in mind going forward. If they label you as racist, they are simply projecting their own beliefs onto you. If they label you as a fascist, they are projecting their own beliefs onto you, and so on and so forth. So, moving on, staying in Illinois though, a man who is allegedly involved with the Latin Kings tried to hire a hitman to kill a high-ranking Border Patrol commander. Juan Espinoza Martinez is, to no one's surprise, an illegal alien in the United States, and offered $2,000 for information on the Border Patrol commander and $10,000 for his death. Martinez was arrested in Burr Ridge, Illinois, and hopefully he gets deported to the moon. That's what I think at this point. And just launch these people, these criminal gang members, into the atmosphere. I just don't care at this point, because you can't send them back to their home country, because they'll continue their criminal enterprise there or somehow sneak back into the country. So just don't even waste our money, and just one-way ticket to the moon. And hopefully the National Guard rolls in and cleans house, and the federal government withholds all federal funding until these states correct themselves. I mean, the federal government did this with the drinking age back in the 70s, I think it was. And I think it was Louisiana was the last holdout. They kept it at 18 until they absolutely were basically forced to raise it to 21. So, that's a real big carrot you can hold in front of the state government to get them to correct their shitty laws. Before I move on, I'm going to take a drink of water. Ran out of Solo cups. I need to get more. So, staying in Illinois for a minute, an anarchist website has allegedly been posting detailed information about ICE facilities in Chicago. According to ABC7 out of Chicago, quote, the assessment from CIS, which is the Center for Internet Security, said at least 4 Chicago area ICE facilities, including Broadview, have been surveilled with detailed layouts, diagrams, and photos posted to what is described as an anarchist website, end quote. I forgot to mention at the top of the video, I've got references for every one of these stories down below, so you can go read them, so I am not just coming up with stuff out of thin air, unlike someone we're going to talk about toward the end here. So, this anarchist website posting detailed layouts of ICE facilities. also very concerning, added on top of local law enforcement not aiding federal law enforcement to do their job. And this is, again, also very concerning after recent events of rioters attacking ICE in Chicago and, the shooting at the Dallas ICE facility in Texas a couple weeks ago. So, again, this is another example of left-leaning people being the cause of violence, not right-wing MAGA people. Last little story about ICE. Zach Bryan, the country singer, let out a bit of a snippet from a new song he's going to release that's called Bad News. And in this song, Bryan says, "ICE gonna come bust down your door." And you can see all of the lyrics here. So I'm sure that that's going to do well for his musical career. And oh, man. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, it's going to do well for his career, and definitely not going to backfire. But I have to admit, I've never listened to his music before, and up until now, I thought people were talking about Luke Bryan and were just messing up his name. So I guess it shows how in touch with pop culture I am. Yeah. Couldn't tell you any of his other music. So if you can, good for you, I suppose, but definitely not a fan now, that's for sure. All right. So moving away from immigration for now. Virginia Attorney General candidate Jay Jones is in some hot water for text messages he sent in 2022. So that was 3 years ago, way before Charlie Kirk got murdered. And according to the American Spectator, which is linked below, quote, "He was somehow triggered by kind words spoken about a recently deceased Democrat colleague by Republican Todd Gilbert, then Speaker of Virginia's House of Delegates, and other Republicans. Jones' perverse reaction was to send a barrage of increasingly alarming texts to Republican delegate Kerry Coyner, in which he speculates about assassinating Gilbert and goes on to fantasize about desecrating his grave." So if you're curious what these texts said, here they are for you to read. Yeah, definitely very concerning that this happened 3 years ago and we're just now learning about it. Again, when the left says that it's the right wing causing all the violence, they're projecting because they know they're lying. Yeah. So, moving on. The home of South Carolina Judge Diane Goodstein was set on fire last weekend.
You can hear this thing burning.
So, sadly, 3 people were injured, including her husband, Arnold Goodstein, who is a former state senator of South Carolina. The fire was caused by an explosion while Diane Goodstein was walking her dogs. An official motive to this fire has not been discovered, but apparently she had been receiving death threats lately, so that's strange. And from my understanding, Diane Goodstein recently blocked the Trump administration from accessing state voter data, so perhaps someone was pissed off at her for standing up to Trump. And if that is the case, I 100% condemn that. Do not support that. We are not the left. We're better than that. And any kind of political violence should be condemned totally. I hate that I have to even say that, but to reiterate, it is unclear at this time what started this. Now, I will say it's a little odd that she was outside of the house when it happened. So maybe there was some marital trouble going on. I don't know. I truly don't know. I'm purely speculating at this point. yeah, hopefully everybody makes a full recovery and the real reason is discovered. Now, something that is pretty easily determined, New York Attorney General Letitia James has been indicted for mortgage fraud, which is ironic because she said this about Donald Trump in the past.
My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law. And it is my responsibility and my duty and my job to enforce it. The law is both powerful and fragile. And today in court, we will prove our case. I thank you all for being here. And again, justice will prevail. Thank you.
Very funny that she tried to put Trump in jail for the same exact thing, even though the banks were pleased with doing business with Trump. And this also comes about 2 weeks after former FBI Director James Comey was also indicted on federal charges. Different things, though. So yeah, I'm very glad to see this, and hopefully she gets more than just a slap on the wrist, because more people need to feel the full weight of accountability for their actions. Let's put it like that. And speaking of being accountable for one's actions, a Florida man was arrested in Melbourne, Florida for starting the Palisades fire in California earlier this year.
Good morning. I'm Bill Asaley, the acting United States Attorney for the Central District of California. Today, we are announcing the arrest of 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht for igniting a fire that ultimately burned down the Palisades earlier this year, killing 12 people, destroying more than 6,800 structures, both homes and businesses, and damaging over 1,000 more buildings. The complaint unsealed today charges the defendant with destruction of property by means of fire, a felony that carries a mandatory minimum 5-year federal prison sentence and is punishable by up to 20 years in federal prison. The defendant was arrested yesterday on a federal criminal complaint near his Florida residence, and he's expected to make his initial appearance today in the federal court in Orlando, Florida. I stress that the complaint contains allegations and every defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. The allegations in the affidavit are supported by digital evidence, including the defendant's ChatGPT prompt of a dystopian painting showing in part a burning forest and a crowd fleeing from it. And we're going to put that up on the screen here once we get that going. The allegations are, there it is. That's from his ChatGPT. That's an image he produced a few months before the fire started. It shows the city being burned there. The allegations are further supported by the defendant's cell phone, his false statements to law enforcement, and his behavior during the Lockman fire, which the defendant is charged with maliciously starting shortly after midnight on New Year's Day of this year, and which eventually became the Palisades fire. Late last New Year's Eve, Rinderknecht returned to Pacific Palisades after working the evening shift as an Uber driver. 2 of his passengers told law enforcement that he appeared agitated and angry that night. After dropping off a passenger in Pacific Palisades, Rinderknecht parked his car and tried and failed to contact a former friend. He exited the car, walked up a nearby trail, took iPhone videos at a nearby hilltop, and listened to a rap song whose music video including objects being lit on fire. The defendant had listened to this song and watched its music video repeatedly in the days leading up to the Lockman fire. 12 minutes into the new year, environmental sensing platforms indicated that a fire had started. It took the defendant several tries to contact 911 to report the fire. He fled the scene in his car, but turned around after passing fire engines driving in the opposite direction to fight the fire. While the Lockman fire burned, the defendant walked up the same trail from earlier that night to watch the fire and firefighters, using his iPhone to take short videos of the scene. Although firefighters suppressed the blaze, the fire continued to smolder and burn underground within the root structure of the dense vegetation. So that fire started on January 1st, and it smoldered underground for about a week until on January 7th, heavy winds caused this underground fire to surface and spread above ground, causing what became known as the Palisades Fire.
So, to add to this press conference, Rinderknecht is the son of a French missionary and grew up in France and eventually made his way here. I guess. I don't know if he came legally or not, but anyway. So next time someone tries to lecture you about immigration, use this example as well as the guy who assaulted Paul Pelosi as two examples of white immigrants who are also shitty people and shouldn't have been here in the United States. Case in point. Crazy, crazy times. I'm getting thirsty again. All right. Speaking of crazy, a man named Louis Jerry, which is spelled Geri, weird spelling. But anyway, he was arrested in D.C. after he pitched a tent outside the St. Matthew's Cathedral and attempted to activate homemade explosives. Thankfully, he didn't succeed with this attack, but when he was arrested, he allegedly handed over his own personal journal so he could try to get his 15 seconds of fame. The timing of this attempted terrorist attack coincides with the Red Mass, which is an annual service held at this cathedral, marking the start of a new term for the Supreme Court. So it is a Catholic church, by the way, in case you didn't know. So very concerning that another crazy dude tried to attack a church. Weird how that keeps happening. However, because of this stunt and because of the mass that was going on, police blocked off the area, preventing anyone from attending the service, and no one was actually hurt. So thankfully, this guy was not to the level of like a Ted Kaczynski, if you will. But speaking of the Supreme Court, they recently rejected an appeal from Ghislaine Maxwell. So that's weird, and they also refused to explain why they don't want to hear Maxwell's case. But we all know at this point that if her case is investigated any further, many politicians will be implicated in her and Epstein's heinous crimes. I mean, the Republicans could have released this day one, and it's been like 9 months now or whatever. So come on, you can't bullshit the American people and say that you're still looking into it. You all are clearly covering something up, and that truly is a both sides thing. I'm sure there are politicians from both sides of the political aisle that are implicated in Jeffrey Epstein's misdeeds, and a lot of people would be going to jail. Speaking of putting people in jail, President Trump was recently asked if his administration will classify Antifa as a foreign terrorist organization.
Are you going to work with your administration, as the Secretary of State's here, are you going to work with your administration to designate it a foreign terror organization?
You mean a terror?
Antifa? A foreign terror organization.
Well, has that been done? Pretty close, right? Would you like to see it done?
Yes, Mr. President.
You think it would help?
They have foreign links
I'd be glad
all
to do
across
it. I
Western
think it's
Europe.
the kind of thing I'd like to do. If you'd like, does
Middle
everybody
East.
agree? If you agree, I agree. Let's get it done, okay? Let's get it done. Marco, we'll take care of it.
Mr. President.
That's international, you mean?
Yes.
International.
Mr. President.
Sounds good to me.
Foreign terror organization.
Steve, are you okay with it?
Yes, it's true. There are extensive foreign ties, and I think that would be a very valid step to take.
Good, I think so too.
Yes.
Good, I think it's a
President Trump.
good point. Thank you.
President Trump.
Now, I think this needed to happen a long time ago, but I'm glad it's finally happening now. And if they are classified as a foreign terrorist organization, the federal agencies can use way more resources to take them down. And also, I've been thinking about this a lot lately since Charlie Kirk was murdered by a left-wing terrorist. Why hasn't the FBI used the Patriot Act to track down left-wing terrorists yet? Personally, I don't like the Patriot Act as it gave the federal government, almost unilateral authority to spy on everybody in the United States. And it was supposed to, crack down on terrorism or some bullshit like that. But it's been law for over 20 years now, and it ain't going away. We all know that. So it almost seems like they, meaning these 3-letter agencies, want this kind of stuff to happen so the federal government can slowly chip away at our rights. If you have another explanation as to why this isn't happening, like using the Patriot Act to go after left-wing terrorists, then I would love to hear that explanation. Because nothing else makes sense to me other than that. And the same logic goes to any kind of right-wing terrorist organizations that might be out there, but like, there's like 10 people left in the KKK, so they really don't pose any threat to anybody at this point. They just want to go out in the woods and drink shitty beer and, rant about how racist they are or whatever. Okay, moving on. The FBI under Joe Biden spied on several Republican senators and one representative under Arctic frost. Republican senators Lindsey Graham, Marsha Blackburn, Ron Johnson, Josh Hawley, Cynthia Loomis, Bill Hagerty, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, and Republican Representative Mike Kelly all had telephone records subpoenaed by Jack Smith's Arctic Frost team. However, the official reason for the spying campaign is not clear at this time, but we all know that this is for intimidation against those who disagreed with the Biden administration. Again, if you've got another explanation as to why, I would love to hear it in the comments down below, but you're going to have a hard time convincing me otherwise. Now, some good news. It seems like at least one corporate media outlet is trying to correct course, as CBS has hired Barry Weiss as editor-in-chief for their news. This is likely an attempt at saving the network and trying to make news more balanced for the corporate media. So good luck with that. Weiss built up the free press to a large scale. As Paramount bought that network, I guess you'd call it a network, for around $150 million. So, not a small amount of money whatsoever. Now, I'm not very familiar with her work, but from the outside looking in, it kind of seems like she's qualified for this position. Building a company from the ground up like that, or maybe she bought it when it was still small and built it up. But anyway, she built up this network and it got sold for $150 million. So, qualified, I would say yes. Now, this is the fun one. Candace Owens, everyone's favorite conspiracy theorist. I think she takes the top position away from Alex Jones. Candace Owens has released text messages proving that Israel killed Charlie Kirk.
Take a look. So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, ugh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term, in my opinion. Like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48 hours before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was very clear and he was very explicit, and he did not back down, not in that Hamptons meeting, which they're all lying about, nor in this text thread. I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer for funsies. He's on this chat, okay?
Well, there you have it, folks. This proves without a shadow of a doubt that it was Israel who killed Charlie Kirk and not the deranged left-wing terrorist that pulled the trigger. Seriously, why does anyone take this woman seriously? Couple text messages about donors, pulling their money, and all of a sudden it's clear-cut evidence that Israel killed Charlie Kirk. Yeah, okay. Makes sense. So on top of this, Andrew Colvett from TPUSA responded to Candace's batshit claim here.
But I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friends' trust in that way. But I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently. But here we are. So one of the reasons, Blake, that I'm glad to have this now public, it was not mine to share publicly, but one of the criticisms we've received is that we don't care. We're not investigating every lead. We're not looking under every stone. And that somehow we're just sweeping things under the rug. And when I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else, I really mean it, and no stone unturned. I mean, I don't know if you want to chime in on that part alone, but I have more to say.
Yeah, so it has been so frustrating to have people blow up about this. Yeah. And I've certainly stated publicly, the reason I haven't weighed in on things is I am an eyewitness to events, and they've said, don't comment on things because anything you say can mess that up. I don't want to mess up any trial for the person who did this.
That's 1,000.
So, in my opinion, these texts do seem to paint Israel in a bad way. However, the shooter was caught along with the gun and the ammunition with engraved shell casings with clear anti-right-leaning messaging on it. So all the evidence has been put out there so far and shows that it was the one shooter that did this, not an Israeli hitman. I went over that in the video when Charlie Kirk was murdered, why this was not a professional person that did this. Okay, so you can go back 3-4 weeks and watch that. So, and if you, please, for the love of God, if you do listen to Candace Owens, stop. She is nothing more than a grifter at this point. And if you've thought about it, don't, because she is a grifter at this point and is just in it for the conspiracy theory money or whatever. It's just weird. Yeah. Put a fine point on it. Those texts don't prove shit. Now, speaking of Israel, Trump has brokered a peace deal between Hamas and Israel, as seen in Trump's post here. And it says, I am very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means that all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps toward a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, and all surrounding nations, and the United States of America, and we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Blessed are the peacemakers. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. So there you have it. This is great news, and hope everyone on the pro-Palestine side is happy now, because this is what they've been chanting for 2 years. And I'm happy that our tax money isn't going to fund a forever war, at least for the time being. However, a few days before this peace deal was signed, John Fetterman posted on X, good morning to everyone except all the protesters who aren't protesting for Hamas to accept the peace deal. And then after that, he posted "fuck Hamas" after he shared this picture from the Jerusalem Post that says Hamas celebrates 2 years since October 7, calls terror attack a glorious day. So it kind of seems like John Fetterman is more Republican nowadays. It's, again, weird how things are just flip-flopping all the time. But to end this little story, hopefully this peace deal lasts and we truly do see peace in the Middle East. Hopefully the U.S. can get a rein on Israel and, they quit just bombing people because they fucking feel like it. Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, these things last for a short time and then somebody fires a rocket and then it's game on again. So it's weird. But now it seems like Qatar controls the U.S. government, not Israel, because as the Daily Press says, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced Friday that a facility for a branch of Qatar's armed forces will be built at the Mountain Home Air Force Base south of Boise, end quote, and that's in Idaho. Upon hearing this, many people, like myself, asked, why? To which I don't have a good answer. Now, this base also houses members of the Singaporean Air Force, so maybe this is some kind of joint training exercise or something. If you have more information on this as to why this is happening, I would like to know, because it seems weird that we're allowing Qatar to train at an Air Force base here in the U.S. It's weird. The only reason I can think this is happening is due to Qatar donating over $6 billion to colleges and universities across America. In fact, there was a University of Texas campus in Qatar for a while. I think it's since been shut down, but UT had a campus in another country on the other side of the planet. So that might be the reason why this is happening. I'm not sure. All right. I didn't take a screenshot of this one. Whoops. Anyway, we're coming to an end here. President Trump announced on Truth Social that the United States will impose a 100% tariff on all Chinese goods starting November 1st, quote, or sooner, depending on any further actions or changes taken by China, end quote. Yeah, interesting. This caused both the stock market and crypto market to freak out and take a major tank lately. So it was a bad day to be a day trader of stocks and crypto. If you were freaking out about this, I would say give it some time and things will probably level out again. But for legal reasons, this is not financial advice. I am a dude talking about news on the internet, not giving you trading tips. So do with your money what you will. I am not going to say one way or the other. Just be smart, I suppose, and know that when you invest anything that involves risk, so talk to an actual financial advisor if you decide to do that. Not me. And finally, this last story is fucking crazy. RFK Jr. recently said that circumcision is also linked to autism.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's also there's many other confirmation studies. There's 2 studies that show children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism. And it's highly likely because they're given Tylenol. So, none of this is this positive, but all of it is stuff that we should be paying attention to.
Yeah. But, there's a tremendous amount of proof or evidence, I would say, as a non-doctor, but I've studied this a long time ago. I met Bob.
Now, when I first heard this, I immediately thought this sounds batshit crazy, and it still does. And from what I've heard, from what I've read very briefly, very, very briefly, the studies that Kennedy is referring to were iffy at best with their conclusions. Now, the video, he says it is linked to the Tylenol that was used after the circumcision for the pain relieving. So it's not the actual act of circumcising, but still, it's just, it sounds crazy coming out of my mouth. And again, like when they said that pregnant women shouldn't take it, okay, maybe it's plausible. You know, there's advice for pregnant women to not, you know, take certain vaccines or consume certain foods or take certain medications while they're pregnant. And of course, don't smoke cigarettes or vape or drink alcohol while you're pregnant, because those kind of things can have adverse effects on the baby. And like I showed a couple weeks ago, Tylenol even posted in 2017, we don't advise using any of our products while pregnant. So, while pregnant, it makes some sense. Not saying I fully go there, but it makes some sense. But now with this video of RFK saying this, it seems that he is just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. However, if I am wrong, I will gladly admit it. I've admitted I'm wrong before. I'll gladly admit I'm wrong again, but I highly doubt it. Oh my God. We are living in some crazy times. But that is all I've got for this week. Thanks for watching if you made it this long. Again, make sure you're subscribed, share with your normie friends, because there's a lot of normies out there that are checked out of the news. As you can see, I am just a regular dude on the internet. I am not wearing a suit and tie trying to bullshit you. All the references are below. And, you know, take this information and be better with life, I guess. So with that being said, I'll see y'all next time. Thanks and take care.